Guten Tag. I am Alexander Gutenberg, and welcome to the library. Today, I'd like to share my thoughts on an article on rock, paper, shotgun that I recently came across. I have spent the morning learning about a recently deceased horse thanks to Umamusume Pretty Derby by Nic Reuben is not an article. It's a glorified blog post. It reads like the rantings of someone who has no interest in either Umamusume or the real world horses it depicts. And this essay will demonstrate why. To begin, I want to read the first paragraph from his article, as that will tell us immediately how Nick approaches this story. Around a week ago, 146,000 people mourned the death of a horse they'd never meet. This might be the this might be the best single thing that has ever happened in video games, although I don't imagine the horse would give a shit. Grass Wonder was a famous Japanese racehorse, but it's likely the majority of those that mourned his death online are only fans of the Japanese horse racing by proxy. Okay, so the opening sentence is strong, highlighting both the sheer number of people affected by Grass Wonder's death and the fact that many of them had never seen the horse in person. It creates a sense that this article may explain why these people would come to care about him. The second sentence, however, begins to falter. While online articles can adopt a less formal tone than traditional publications, immediately resorting to an expletive undermines the article's credibility and sets a flippant tone. The third and final sentence reveals Nick's bias. He dismisses these fans as only fans by proxy, implying that their grief and engagement are somehow less valid. Nick's article immediately reveals that this is not going to be about Grass Wonder or Umamusume at all. Instead, it is primarily about his personal bias against parasocial relationships, though he never explicitly frames it that way. Continuing, here is an article about Grass Wonder's death that does not mention Umamusume, Pretty Derby, once. I find this profound and comforting, in the sense that it feels miraculous that such intertwined cultural spheres can still exist in their own silos. There are people who knew Grass Wonder well, yet would look at you playing the anime horse girl game in wordless confusion, save a muttered directive that you seek the love and light of a forgiving God. Okay, this second paragraph begins by linking to an obituary for Grass Wonder. Naturally, an obituary would not reference a somewhat connected media franchise, as obituaries focus on the life of the subject, in this case, the horse. Yet, Nick goes on to state that he finds it profound and comforting that such is the case, that an article focusing on the horse would remain separate from coverage of the media franchise. In doing so, he misses the point entirely. He closes the paragraph by taking another jab at the fans who learned about Grass Wonder through Uma Musume, suggesting that his real fans would, in so many words, say, "You need Jesus." It is important to note, however, that fans of Japanese horse racing are largely aware of Uma Musume. For some, the game offers a chance to see stories they long to witness on the track actually play out. For others, it provides an opportunity to reconnect with the horses that have already passed. And for yet others, it may even be the very reason they were initially drawn to visit the racetracks. Nick seems not to understand how deeply intertwined Japanese culture is with anime, mascots, and new media. It really does paint him as uneducated in this regard. Continuing on, the article reads, I'm not going to eulogize Grass Wonder because I do not care about Grass Wonder any more than I care about any other horse, and don't especially feel like pretending I do just for the sake of a bit. I think all horses are pretty good, but I cannot eulogize them all. But Grass Wonder is special in the sense that Grass Wonder is the horse I'm currently thinking about. Grass Wonder is, as far as I'm concerned, the most famous horse in the world right now. He tramples with disdain over the frail, fallen forms of lesser attention economy aspirants, and from beyond the grave no less. In this paragraph, any notion that the article has merit begins to completely unravel. The headline suggests that Nick will discuss Grass Wonder, the Umamusume fandom, or perhaps the cultural impact of the horse. Instead, the first sentence delivers a swift gut punch. He simply does not care. The remainder of the paragraph reads as meaningless filler, likely to meet some arbitrary word count. Claiming that Grass Wonder is only special because Nick happens to be thinking about him is effectively saying that nothing matters unless you are personally paying attention. It's an incredibly pessimistic and self centered perspective in a piece that has already lost its focus and seems destined to go nowhere. Next up, the article reads, again, we can tell from that social post linked above that Pretty Derby has inspired at least 146,000 people that I imagine would not have otherwise known about the existence, never mind death, of Grass Wonder, to spend at least some time this month thinking about his passing. I have not played the horse girl game. Perhaps it has the power to repair my relationship with my own soul, although I'm skeptical. But today, at least, it has conjured for me a reminder that fate has both a sense of humor and a penchant for gotcha mechanics. If the universe is, indeed, a machine for producing ever more potent instances of novelty, it did a fine job with the cultural impact of this racehorse's fatal organ failure. At this stage of the article, any respect for Nick as a journalist is entirely lost. He's writing for Rock Paper Shotgun about a horse he explicitly admits he does not care about, linked to a game he confesses he has never played and implies he has no intention of playing. Yet he continues to pontificate, claiming that life is random and meaningless, comparing it to a gotcha machine, and casually inserting a callous remark about the cause of Grass Wonder's death. This paragraph fully underscores that his focus is not the subject or the fans, but his own flippant, self indulgent musings. Finally, the article reads, according to the article linked above, Grass Wonder sired 736 winners and 1,327 foals. If someone in the comments could enlighten me to whether this is a misprint, I would be grateful. Grass Wonder has been breeding for 25 years. If we assume the above to be true, that's about 53 kids a year, or one a week. Goliath felling levels of mythical dick slinging that a real legacy, although Grass Wonder's impact on me will remain the still very notable achievement of making me think about horse dick while writing about video games. This basically never happens. Oh, maybe mouthwashing, actually. Weird that it happened twice, etc. And this is the final paragraph of the article, and rather than making any meaningful point about Grass Wonder's death, the Umamusume fandom, or why this story is noteworthy, Nick ends on a crude dick joke. To give proper context, Grass Wonder sired 1,327 foals, of which 736 went on to become race winners. That is over 55%. That's an extraordinary figure. By comparison, many stallions achieve only around 15% winners from their foals. The article Nick references is not about the sheer number of foals, but the remarkable proportion that succeeded in racing, demonstrating Grass Wonder's true legacy. I will admit I have neither played nor heard of the game Mouthwashing, but I fail to see why this is even remotely relevant to Nick's post. His conclusion reduces a significant achievement to a crude joke, highlighting the overall lack of focus and seriousness in the piece. Anyway, with Nick's post behind us, let me share my thoughts on the news of Grass Wonder's death and why it matters so deeply to so many. I came to Umamusume about a week after it blew up in America. I already knew the premise from watching some of the anime, which passes my one episode rule. It clearly presents the story, the characters, and why their journeys matter. I never became attached to Grass Wonder personally, but that does not mean I failed to understand the pain experienced by those who have. Nick's musings could have explored how parasocial relationships, those one sided bonds between fans and untouchable idols, can actually be a force for good. Looking at the turnout, we see that many who never would have known about Grass Wonder came to love him as deeply as his owners, grooms, jockeys, and track going fans. They offered support for an athlete who had passed, and this is far from an isolated phenomenon. When Haru Urara's owner opened donations for her stables, so many overseas fans contributed that the excess feed had to be redirected to other stables. And I recall watching footage of Silent Suzuka during his final race when he fatally tore a ligament and being moved to tears. Extending this perspective further, when Doki Bird returned to streaming, her re-debut drew enormous turnout. When Ironmouse hosted her recent fundraiser for the Immunodeficiency Foundation, she raised over $1 million in just a few days, roughly a third of the foundation's annual operating budget. Can parasocial behavior go too far? Certainly, and it often does. But moments like these demonstrate that it is not purely a negative side effect of fandom. It can inspire empathy, generosity, and genuine human connection. Thank you for watching. Auf Wiedersehen.